Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Calvin Tobin Show. I am your host, Calvin Tobin. Today we have a lot to talk about, so let's get right into it. All right, the March Madness Tournament Selection Day is getting closer and closer, and we are only a week away from seeing everyone who will be playing in the tournament. And yesterday was the first day of seeing the final 32 teams secure a spot to represent their conference in the tournament. And there have been two teams so far that have secured a spot. And those two teams are the Fairleigh Dickinson Knights, and they're going to be representing the Northeast Conference. And the other team is the SEMO Redhawks, and they're going to be representing the Ohio Valley Conference. Now, let's get into what happened yesterday and last night. And what happened is the year of the upset continues to flourish, and a ton more teams were upsetted. And here are the teams that got upsetted last night, and they were Baylor, Alabama, Providence, Tennessee, Kansas, Kansas State, and TCU. And out of all of these upsets, the most surprising upset was the Baylor Bears losing to the Iowa State Cyclones by 15. Baylor was 7, Iowa State was unranked, and they lost by 15, and the score was 73-58. And the reason that it was the most surprising upset out of everybody was because the Cyclones had outperformed the Bears in every aspect of the game. But out of all of the games that played out yesterday, the one game that you wanted to watch the most was number 8 Arizona taking on number 4 UCLA, and UCLA came out on top, winning 82-73. Now, how did this game play out? Well, UCLA started off very efficient, but once they got into rhythm, they never looked back, and they finally got their first lead of the game with a few minutes left to go in the first half. And once they got that lead, they never lost the lead for the rest of the game. Now, this game started off with Arizona starting out on a 15-4 run over UCLA. Then minutes later, UCLA ended up having a 10-2 run that put them within striking distance to take the lead, and they did just that. With Arizona's ability to score in the first half, their scoring consistency went in spurts. It would be 6 to 7 point runs, and UCLA followed the same route. The difference was the scoring consistency and the score itself. Now, in the second half, this is where UCLA became a different beast because of their defense. The flow of their offense stayed the same, but they became a defensive monster in the game, and that defensive dominance made Arizona look like they didn't know how to play basketball, because UCLA was continuously stealing the ball. And what they did best, other than stealing the ball, is they made Arizona actually lose focus of controlling the ball, and the Bruins ended up capitalizing so much on offense. And because of that defensive power that UCLA had in that second half, UCLA was able to have 3 guys combined for a total of 60 points. So if they just played those 3 guys, then it would have been 73-60 as the final score, just from UCLA playing off those 3 guys. But if you wanted to see a scoring entourage, just go watch the highlights of the 76ers Bucks games. And the 76ers ended up coming out with the victory over the Bucks, 133-130, ending the Milwaukee Bucks' 16-game winning streak. And because of the Bucks' 16-game winning streak, they were able to overtake the Boston Celtics for first place in the East and to have the best record in all of the NBA. And now they have a record of 45-18. Now, here's how this game went out. with all this scoring, because seven of these players across both teams scored 20 or more points. Everybody but Grayson Allen scored 25 or more points, while Grayson Allen scored 20. And with how each of these and because of how much these players scored, all these seven players combined for a 201 points, up to 233 points that were scored in this game. 86% of the game was scored by seven players. And the 76ers Bucks game was basket for basket, score for score, almost the whole way through. But here's what happened. So these guys were as efficient as you could possibly want a team on either side. The 76ers shot 50% from the field. The Bucks shot 53%. The 76ers shot 48% from the field. The Bucks shot 50%. And from the free throw line, the 76ers shot 84%, while the Bucks shot 89%. Like, these guys couldn't miss if they wanted to, but at the same time, where was the defense? Philadelphia had overall the better defense, because they were able to get 5 steals and have Milwaukee commit 13 turnovers. And all while that's going on, they also kept control of the ball as well as anybody could have all season long. And this is how well they control it. It was arguably probably the best controlled ball game by a single offense in the entire season, because they only turned the ball over 5 times. Now, that's how good Philadelphia's ball control was in this game. Now, out of all this scoring that went on, the 3 leading scorers of this game were Giannis, Harden, and Embiid, because they all had 30-plus points. Harden had 31, Giannis had 34, and Joel Embiid ended up being the game-leading scorer with 38. Now, in the first 2 quarters, these guys were going back and forth, basket for basket, changing leads constantly. The only fluke in this game was that Philadelphia ended up slowing down just a bit in the third quarter, and that was about it. And because of them slowing down, this is where Grayson Allen really turned it up. It ended up being hotter than grease on a fryer. And this dude was so hot in the third quarter, he ended up scoring all 20 of his points in that third quarter. And it ended up at one point in the third quarter giving the Bucks an 18-point lead. But then the fourth quarter happened, and the Philadelphia 76ers said, watch this. And what they did was go off for 48 points in that fourth quarter, and the 76ers can thank James Harden and George Niang for that dominance, because they combined for 31 of those 48 points. Harden got 19 and Niang got 12. And the reason that the 76ers were able to win this game was because of the free throw line towards the end of the game in the final minutes. And that's where the Bucks started to struggle, because they started to force foul, and some of those forced fouls didn't need to be committed, because and especially around this time, because everybody was as efficient as possible, and the 76ers were practically perfect from the free throw line in the fourth quarter. And because of it, they were able to secure the 133 to the 130 lead, and they ended up improving their record to 41-22, ending the Bucks' 16-game winning streak. All right, that's the end of the Calvin Tobin Show. Please subscribe to my channel at Calvin Tobin Show so you don't miss out on any sports media. And please follow me on Instagram at Calvin Tobin Show so you don't miss out on any sports news whatsoever. And I'm out.